Good morning, everyone. I am not a big fan of bugs, especially spiders. And Tara, yesterday there was a spider on my computer. Do you know what it was doing?
Nope.
Making a website.
I need a spider like that.
The only kind of spider I like.
That's awesome. Making a website. Morning.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Wednesday on the Daily Huddle, where Tara and I talk about everything relationships and communication. And today we're going to talk about mental fitness. But before we do, I want to ask a few questions. I want to start with the beautiful Andrea. Andrea, where are you and what are you grateful for?
I am right where I need to be, which is right here. And I'm grateful for fitness overall. Just the activity. Thankful for activity. Yep.
Perfect. I love that. Now let's see. I think I want to ask Stan. Stan, you seem to be a super intelligent guy. Can you tell us what time it is?
Whoa. Even though I don't have my watch on, I know that the time is now, Tara. The time that there is.
That's right. Thank you, Stan. And I'm going to ask my dear friend and co-host, Tara. Well, how are you and who are you going to hug today?
I didn't expect that to come. Let's see. Today, I am the way I say I am, and I am super excited for this day. So I'm excited. And I am going to hug my darling Caroline.
Oh, wonderful. Y'all are lucky to have each other. All right. Now that we know what time it is and where we are and how we are, we'll be present in this conversation. Tara and I wanted to ask the question, how is your mental fitness? And as we dive into the conversation, Tara is going to talk to us a little bit about what is mental fitness? How are we defining it? And how can we increase ours? So Tara, take us away down into this conversation.
Thank you. Thank you, Kathryn. I am excited to share. We really want this to be a conversation. Quite honestly, I'm so passionate about this at this particular season in my life that I could make this a monologue, but I will not. But I would like to share a little bit of the background about how we came to this term, which I've read a little bit about mental fitness. I am a Generation X, like an old Generation X, like right after the baby boomers. And in my generation, for the most part, I would imagine some of you all can relate to this. We are a hustle culture. We are go as hard as you can, take as little as you need, just keep doing the job, doing the work, and you only stop and fortify yourself when you're at a breaking point. That is, in some way, the way many of us were raised. So when I said to my husband, who's also raised in hustle culture in the country of Germany, when I said to him about 6 weeks ago, I said, I would like to get a therapist. It shocked him. He looked at me and he said, what's wrong? Because we are of this mindset that unless we are mentally ill, we don't need to strengthen our mental health or fitness. And that's where the term mental fitness is so much more empowering than mental health. If you are connected in your lives to millennials, they are constantly speaking of mental health. And here's my challenge with that and how we can shift our perspective. Mental health, the term health means the opposite of ill, right? The opposite of sickness, the opposite of disease. And so we may have this mindset that we don't need to fortify or nutrify or strengthen or make healthier our mind because that sends the message that we're mentally ill. But what if we're not mentally ill? What if we just want to be a better wife, a better partner, a better friend, better to ourselves, experience more joy? We all have the ability to grow our mental fitness. And that's why I got a counselor. And Kathryn, before we hear a little bit about your journey as it relates to mental fitness, there's one other thing that was really clarifying for me. And I've shared this before. As a matter of fact, we shared this at our retreat when we talked about mental fitness. And I read this recently, and some people have seen it, but let's talk about depression and anxiety for a second. Depression and anxiety are the opposite of mental health, right? So if you're extremely depressed or terrible anxiety, then you would probably think, I'm not mentally well right now. Well, depression comes from trauma and living and thinking in the past. That's where depression comes in. Anxiety is the opposite of depression. It's when we're worrying about the future, we're thinking about the future, we're anxious about what's coming, we're worried. Either one of those things prevent us from being in the present. And in the present is where we have the ability to grow our mental fitness. And that is so clarifying for me and so exciting. Rather than being concerned or worried about what was or what's going to be, that empowers me to strengthen my mental fitness and be a better Tara tomorrow than I was today. So tell me about you, Kathryn, and your perspective on mental fitness.
I love what you're saying. I think the biggest thing, and we talked about this a little bit last week, the biggest difference for me is that it makes sense to me, mental fitness, because I understand physical fitness. I'm a runner. I like to lift weights, things like that. And I know that I can't lift weights for a day, a week, or even a month and then stop and expect to have the same results. You have to keep doing it. You have to, if you want to eat well, you've got to keep eating well. So for me, it's like, oh, mental health isn't a place that I get to. I'm not on this windy road and then eventually I arrive at the hotel mental health. It's like mental fitness is like, it's a daily practice. Mm-hmm. And that really shifted it for me because we've also talked about this a little bit. It's like having tools in your toolbox. What do I need today, right now? And a lot of it for me is cleaning up my thoughts. Because sometimes I find myself just sinking in my thoughts. They're just they're not positive. They're either negative thoughts, judgmental thoughts about other people, or just complaining to myself about something. And so for me, mental fitness is looking at that, even at that level that no one else knows about, no one else can see. That's responsibility that I have for myself to say, where am I right now? Ooh, that's not a positive place. Wonder what I need to do different. Mm-hmm. And I know the things that help me, the things I can easily go to, a walk outside, calling a friend, taking a break, breathing and all of that. And I think it's really important for us to know what those things are, to know what those go-to tools in our toolbox are. Because when we aren't at our most mentally fit, we're not reaching for the healthiest thing usually. We go for the wine or the Netflix or the snacks, So anyway, I just love the shift in perspective too. The journey is mental fitness. Every day I have to do this.
I feel the same way because it doesn't feel as daunting. And it also feels extremely exciting to think that we can communicate better. We can have more peace. We can have more confidence. We can have a better ability to communicate all through training, right? Not like there's no pill. There's no, okay, do these exercises and then you're all cured. You're mentally healthy forever. It is just like exercise. It's training and it's getting stronger and stronger and stronger. I wonder.
I love that you said that. I want to say one thing about it because I was thinking about, relationships and communication. How does this play into that? Mm-hmm. And for me, it's really clear that, and I know we know this, but sometimes it takes a reminder. If I'm not in a good place, I've got negative thoughts going, I don't feel good, I haven't taken care of myself, the interactions that I have are not going to be my best. I'm not going to show up as my best. And on a regular day, typical day, no huge ups and downs, that might be okay. I'm not a jerk to anybody, but I just don't show up with that bright energy. But if something comes into my space that is challenging when I'm at that place, that's when things get really tough because I'm not resourced enough to really handle that situation in a positive way. So I think it's so important to keep ourselves resourced and so that we can bring who we want to bring into every situation.
When you think about strengthening your mental fitness, can you be more specific about like what it is that you personally are trying to strengthen? And then I can share that too. And I'd love to hear that from our community, because I think until we get specific, this feels still a little bit like philosophical.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess for me, I've been on a journey for a long time. So I know I need to exercise. I know I need to eat right, things like that. But for me lately, what I've been focusing on is what I just mentioned are my thoughts.
Right.
Because it's so noticing, like a good example, I'll go to a work meeting. I'm kind of annoyed. I don't really want to be there. I don't see the value. And, it's just kind of annoying. Right. So I go up to the meeting and I'm kind of like, and then how do I feel during the meeting? And well, that's my experience. Of course, it's what I'm also offering to the group, but that's my experience now. So it's stopping myself and going, oh, wait, I have responsibility for our world. Like how do I want to show up? And so noticing that and course correcting, taking a deep breath, looking at somebody it's really getting present.
Okay.
The bottom line is getting present. Taking a deep breath, looking at the screen if I'm on Zoom, and looking at each person and just thinking something that I love about them. Even whether I know them well or not, you can always look and go, wow, she's got such a bright smile. I love that shirt. And just that can start to shift how we feel.
Yeah.
How I've been working on it lately.
I love hearing that, because, I'm thinking about what you're actually scientifically doing to your brain too, is when you are shifting your thoughts into something positive and affirming, you're shooting serotonin into your mind, which makes our minds and brains and body and microbiome all healthier. That's energy. That's positive energy. I love hearing that.
Well, I love it when you start talking about the science like that, especially about something that I'm experiencing, because experientially, like that's the science that's in a book somewhere, but experientially, I feel that. Like the more positive things I say about somebody in my mind, and that, I start to sit up a little taller and I'm starting to smile a little bit more. And then all of a sudden, again, what we focus on grows. So now I'm starting to see more and more things in the meeting, and you know what I mean? And so it's just builds and builds. And so I think that's exactly what you're saying, is those chemicals start going and I'm like, whoa, this feels good. I think I'll do more of it.
And then it becomes like a practice that becomes a habit, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And the more you do it, the easier it is to do it, and I think having that, that is what the chemicals do that you describe, but having that experience of, wow, I came in. So that's another thing, is reflecting, because to look back and go, wow, I came into this meeting kind of surly and I feel good now, and nothing changed. The meeting didn't change. The people didn't change. The time didn't change. I changed.
Right. Absolutely. I think it's, you said something that's easy to say, and it's harder in today's culture than ever before, and it's to be present. I read a study just recently that the American Psychological Association did a study on millennials. So that's age 26 to 42, I think. Over 50% of them have some form of social anxiety, over 50%.
Wow.
So to tell someone to be present when they don't have the tools or the practice to do it is very daunting, because their minds, more than ours, are used to being stimulated, and they're looking for that relief, that reward. So it absolutely might take some help, some encouragement, reading, counselors, mentors, because I don't want to oversimplify it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, just to touch on that, practices for being present, the very simplest, feel your feet on the ground. Anything somatic, anything body related helps us be in the present moment, because when we're not in the present moment, our bodies are still in the present. Our bodies usually do not leave us.
Right.
It's minds that go somewhere else. So if you can get into your body, even just touching whatever's around you and feeling that and paying attention, those are really easy ways to bring us right into the present moment.
Yes. I do it a lot of times with sound. So if I find myself, like my mind is going into a place that I'm, beating myself up a little bit, I'll just start to listen to the most simple sounds, the click of the keyboard, the clink of the dishes, just any little sounds. For whatever reason, that is a meditative space for me, but we're all very different. So I'm excited to hear from Florence, and I think Stan's raised his hand. Let's see, Florence, you have some mental fitness for us. I'd love to hear what you're working on as it relates to your mental fitness. Your hand's up, Florence, but if you're talking, you're on silence. You're on mute.
I have been focused, and through the pandemic, I found that it helped me to be in this moment, to tell myself the last moment has passed. The next moment has not come. So the only thing that matters this moment. This gave me so much freedom, and it gave me joy, and it gave me an excitement because I felt
You have a terrible connection, I'm afraid to say, unless that's me.
No, I can't hear either.
Yeah, Florence, you're breaking up. You're breaking up. You might just need to move.
Okay. Okay.
Let's come back, Florence. I think if I could try to summarize what she said, I think that she was saying that she keeps reminding herself that the only moment that matters, like we say on the Daily Huddle, is this moment that we're in, and to continue to focus on that. Shoot us a chat, Florence. Yes. I'm happy to read it. Let me see here. Stan, did you have your hand up?
I didn't really have my hand up, but I think I know what Florence was saying. She was talking about breathing because she was speaking about it earlier today.
Oh, thank you.
Everything starts with breath. If we can take the time to become conscious of our breathing and breathe deeply, we can usually focus in exactly where we are. Mm-hmm. That breathing is just amazing how breathing brings us right to where we are. And it brings us into the real moment. And then for Reed said something in the chat room that really just got my attention. Mm-hmm. And he said that we live in two times that don't exist. Too often we live in two times that don't exist. And that's the past and in the future. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you, Fareed.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for summarizing that, Stan. And that's, I mean, I'm reading these now. It's hard to read and talk at the same time.
Yeah.
And Fareed called it mind management. I love that. Mm-hmm. Love that. That's awesome.
Well, we always have wonderful things coming out of Sorrel. See what he has to say today.
Good morning. Good morning. I have a question. As the two of you were spinning this, the term emotional intelligence came to mind. How much of what is mental fitness is related to emotional intelligence for you? And that's to both of you. Is there a difference? Are there similarities? Where do you see the connections and all that?
I love the question. Tara, you want to take it first?
Sure. And I probably don't have great insight because I've not stopped to think about this. So all I can offer is opinion. And I'm going to say, especially since the work that I've been doing, that sometimes I think like great amounts of EQ, emotional intelligence, makes it almost harder to be mentally fit. Just depending on the way that your mind is. I mean, I think we need enough of it to care for ourselves. But if you're as fascinated as I am with the brain and the mind and behavior, sometimes it can be daunting and overwhelming. So I think there's a correlation there. I don't think they're the same. I believe that a strong amount of emotional intelligence can help us to be mentally fit. But someone who's super high on the emotional intelligence side, I think sometimes it turns out to almost be an Achilles heel. Could you imagine that being the case, Sorrel?
I'm like you, Tara. I don't have an opinion on. I have an opinion on the matter, and I'm really just looking. Mm-hmm. And the only thing that's coming up to me right now is a practice that I use and often Giovanni and I use with our clients. The question, what time is it and where are you, on the Daily Huddle didn't come, willy-nilly. So there's the practice of saying that right now in this moment, where I am, there's nothing wrong or broken. And for me, how that relates to my mental fitness and my emotional intelligence is that as a human being, I find myself always being consumed by this question: what is wrong here? What do I need to fix with me, with the world, with others, with my circumstances, you name it, right? And to pause for a moment and just declare that really in this moment where I am right now, there's nothing wrong or broken. And then pause. And instead of doing something or beating myself up for what's wrong, I can take a moment to look and see what is possible right now. So that's a practice I use that I'm now calling mental exercises to make me mentally fit. So right. I love the term mental fitness, and I'm grateful for you two bringing it to the party.
Thanks, Rel. It's so great. It's such a different way to step into the moment and really be present, because there really isn't anything wrong in this moment. You know, the mind can then start to branch out into other moments, but right here, right now, all is well. I love that. Thank you. And Cece, you had your hand up. I see it's gone down. Do you want to jump in here?
I thought somebody missed me. That's why I put it down.
No.
Anyway, I love this emotional intelligence question. Actually, I just need to focus on managing myself being present, and deep breathing does help. And meditation helps for me also to stay present to, like, in this moment, instead of reverting to the past or worrying about the future, because I can't control the future. What I can do is be present and enjoy everyone at this moment, and enjoy you guys and everyone else's shares. So being present does make a difference. And thank you.
Is that a practice for you? Because it's easy to say, but to do that, some people don't have those skills. Have you learned those skills over time?
Yeah, it took me years to learn those skills. And I actually have I have a team of people to keep myself focused on today and not the past or the future. So that's been a process of years and years of practicing. And now that I'm doing stand-up comedy, I have to be present, because people can actually see when you're checked out, and your conversation checks out immediately when you're not present. So I desire to be present. So it's practice. Thank you.
That you hit the nail on the head too. I've never done stand-up comedy. It's a secret dream of mine, but I've done a lot of speaking, and I can feel when I'm not in the moment, and people can pick up on it in a minute when you're holding that microphone and all eyes are on you. So it is an important practice. Thank you, Cece.
Thanks, Cece. Gio.
Yeah, good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. Thank you. Great conversation today. And today, I really like the conversation today in the context of giving the distinction between mental health and mental fitness. I think that's it's an angle I have not considered before. I really like it. I have been mucking around with this field for a very long time, creating mental health, mental fitness, emotional intelligence. And I can see what Tara was pointing to at the beginning. If someone in my life says, you know, I'm gonna get a therapist, I can see myself withholding the thought of, oh, what's wrong? You okay? I can see myself withholding that thought. But I've always been looking at mental fitness as, in my life, that's all my life is about, mental fitness. But I've never looked at it in the direction of a therapist. I looked at it in the direction of coaching. I'm going to go to a seminar. I'm going to go to a course. I'm going to get a coach. And it's all giving me mental fitness, and it's all giving me emotional intelligence and mental health, absolutely mental health. But I like this new angle of considering it, the whole thing, having it be a mental fitness. And my therapist helps me, my coach helps me, my seminars help me, everything around me gives me access to mental fitness. And that's something I'm discovering in this conversation, and I wanted to make a comment of.
I love that, Gio. And what I'm hearing is everything around you has the potential to serve your mental fitness, and you choose in the moment. So like, you're the one making that happen, choosing all those things and choosing for your workshops to make it work for you. And I just think that's a powerful thing to pay attention to, that you could get a therapist and it just not work for you because you're not working it, but you're making the choice to pull all those things in and have them serve you in a particular way.
Yeah, and I wanted to say one more thing that is being triggered by what you just said. I am of the opinion, so it's not the truth. I am of the opinion that my mind on its own devices, on its default, will be self-destructive. And it will self-destruct my family and my relationships, my mind on its own devices. And I am of the opinion of that, given the overwhelming evidence of what I end up doing if I don't continue to take courses, if I don't continue to have coaches, and certainly the community that I have continuously educates me and helps me to be strong. But when I'm not part of anything of that, when I'm not doing that at all for 6 months, I can see myself going crazy, just doing dumb things, being grumpy for nothing, taking things out of context so easily, losing perspective. And so I am someone who forces himself to be in a program every 8 months or so. But I don't want to. I really don't want to. I'm not the person who sits in the back of the room really excited about being in a conference or in a course. Or not at all. I am really making myself do it. And then on the 2 days later, I'm like, oh, thank God I was here. My goodness. Thank God for my family. Thank God for my community. Thank God I made myself do this.
I have to say, Gio, and I'm so glad that you continued on with that commentary, because you've heard the old adage that, there's two wolves, one's evil, one's angry, and one's loving and one's giving, and which one will win? It's the one you feed. I have this little voice in my head that says, if I keep a therapist and I have a coach, then that's just way too much focus on me. Like and you put it back to me. You do that so that you can show up for the people that you love better.
Oh yeah.
I have to keep reminding myself of that.
Yeah, man, I'm an animal. I identify strongly with the bear. And I well, for next week, I'll talk more about that. Go ahead, Sorrel.
Thank you, Gio. Thank you, man. That was awesome. Tara and Kathryn, what I'm discovering also is that my brain is trying to make mental fitness complicated. And that complication that I generate automatically is part of the reason I need something to keep me mentally fit. So I'm walking away with keeping it simple, like just taking a walk outside. Somebody else talked about breathing deeply. I talked about this practice of saying there's nothing wrong here. Whatever it is I pick, just pick that one thing. And I'm not stuck with it. I can change it later, but pick one thing that I do on a regular basis, because fitness is kind of like, it reminds me of going to the gym, and the equivalent of going to the gym mentally is actually practicing one thing on a regular basis and tending to my mental fitness. So that's what I'm walking away with. Don't complicate it. Pick one thing.
I love it.
I love these tips because, they don't all apply to people. Like you're a language person, Sorrel. I just sense that from you. So you have these little mantras, whereas Stan, maybe in Florence, that may not work for them. They're more about just the breathing and allowing themselves to be in the moment. We have to find our own way. Before I close this amazing conversation out, Kathryn, I think that you had something you wanted to say.
I didn't actually.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I just love what Sorrel said. So I like the simplicity. The mind loves to overcomplicate things. It's not hard. We are already in the present. It's sometimes funny when we talk about being in the present. We are already here.
Yes.
We just have to take our mind and point us there. That's it. And keep it simple.
Can you, I know we're running over, but you've done this for me before, and I would love for you to do this quickly for our audience before we close out, is remind me the difference between a therapist and a coach and why we would benefit from both for our mental fitness.
Yeah. So in our coaching space, the way we see it is coaches are trained to take you from where you are into the future, to vision, to take you where you want to go. Therapists are really trained to bring you up to a baseline in the present. So like to deal with anything past, any past trauma. Typically coaches are not trained for that unless they have particular special training. So yeah, anything in the past to get you to a good baseline is therapist. And then coach is more visioning, where do I want to go and who do I want to be? Those do cross over some, but that's the general difference.
Thank you. That just like brought us all the way back to the beginning of this conversation, which is a lot of depression comes from living in the past and suffering from past experiences, whereas anxiety is we can't handle what might be in the future. So to have a therapist and a coach, you too can be like Gio. That's so awesome.
You're done.
We're over time. I adore you all. And I just want to leave with our 7 tenets. And the first is to love. I feel very loved right now and filled up with love to go and give it out into the world today. So lead with love, give of your generosity, your talents, your heart, your vulnerability, just give it all away. Don't take yourself too seriously. Throw your head back and laugh. Let those endorphins fly, which will help you to stress less and give you the discipline to eat more plants, which will give you even better energy. Get your sleep so you can give your best and move that body. Love you all. See you next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye, you all.
Thank you, Kathryn. Thank you, Tara. Thank you, family.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stan.